All right, Sassy Gamers, this is Phoenix Nova. I'm behind the camera here at PAX West 2023, and I'm here with Chris from Cephalofair Games. And Chris, we're going to be talking about not just Gloomhaven, but something that, although it's been out for a while from my understanding, something that's new to me, which is the Gloomhaven kind of starter pack.
Yeah, it's called Jaws of the Lion, actually. It's a 25 scenario game. It's a smaller box version of Gloomhaven. The idea of it is, A, we want to make sure that it's easier for you to set up so you can set it up quickly instead of spending 15 minutes of setting up Gloomhaven. And the first type scenarios teach you how to play the game without a rule book. So scenario 1 is going to give you a couple little tidbits. Scenario 2, a couple more tidbits. By scenario 5, you're ready to play a 20 scenario campaign and then go right into Gloomhaven and have learned all the rules of the mechanics.
Now, I see that's the thing that I find so interesting is being able to go right into Gloomhaven from this.
Yep.
And as you said, without having to read this heavy rule book.
Yes.
Is that one of the driving forces that caused for the creation of this?
Yes. Isaac takes feedback to heart. And the two things that he heard were the game is complicated to learn and it takes too long to set up. And so he wanted to fix both of those issues with Jaws of the Lion.
Yeah, and talking about easy to set up, one of the things that I find really interesting about this is that the setup here is this flip book.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit more about how all this works.
So normally in Gloomhaven, you have map tiles. You need to pop each one out and set them up kind of thing. In Jaws of the Lion, you play on a map book. So you've got scenario 1 ready to go. You flip the page, you've got scenario 2 ready to go.
Now, I also see that in that particular page that you had just flipped to, that the map goes off the side.
It does. There is an extra map book that sometimes you'll have a third tile you'll be placing.
So it actually allows you, within the campaign of this starter set, it does kind of have the scale effect where you can have a bigger map.
Yes, by the time you get to scenario 5, a lot of your maps are going to be Gloomhaven size scale. We actually had so much positive feedback on these that we're going to be going back and redoing these map books for both Frosthaven and our Gloomhaven 2nd edition.
Okay, for those that may not be familiar with Gloomhaven, tell us a little bit about how some of the mechanics work. What differentiates Gloomhaven from other tabletop RPGs out there?
Sure. So one big thing is that cards drive all of your abilities. So you'll have a whole hand of cards, and you get to choose any 2 of them. And each turn, you're going to choose 2 actions from those cards. But you have to choose one top and one bottom. So you can either do these 2 actions, or these 2 actions, or generic movement on bottom and generic attack on top if your monsters mess you up and go first and ruin your plans. Okay.
And I think that's an interesting mechanic that you talked about, that the first time that I actually exposed myself to Gloomhaven, that it took a while to wrap my brain about it, is that while you have 2 actions per turn, movement is dictated not by, oh, you get to move X amount each turn, but you get to move based on what's on your cards.
Yes. So there are times you choose not to move because you can do 2 really cool things with your cards and go, I'm going to stand here and do both of these things.
Yeah. And in this case, each of your movement is 2, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, because
cool.
both of those don't have movement on bottom because they have generic movement in case you need to move.
True,
kind of thing.
The generic movement, not a special ability movement that may allow you to, like, perhaps move a little bit further or move and charge and possibly attack.
Or jump over, stuff like that. Yep.
Yeah. So it was really interesting that all of the actions are dictated by the card.
Yes.
Not that you have some additional action on top of that's outside of the cards.
Yes. The other big mechanic is that you don't roll dice in our games. All of your actions all of your combat is dictated by modifier cards. So you still have 20 cards in a deck. Similar to a D20, you're going to have a crit fail, crit success, but you're only going to have a scale of between -2 and +2. So you're always going to be doing something every turn. And that was designed by Isaac because, a lot of us get frustrated when we're playing D&D and we roll a 6, and then a 7, and then a 3, and just constantly don't do anything each turn.
This is the starter pack.
Yep.
It's meant for how many people to play?
1 to 4.
1 to 4.
Yep.
So when you do have something like 4 people, how do you keep the other players interested when it's not their turn?
The turns actually go pretty quickly. So they're going to probably take 2 or 3 minutes per turn. So that's one thing I really like about it is that as somebody who gets really bored pretty quickly, this keeps my attention because it's like, oh, cool, you're going to do that, you're going to do that, cool. Now in the next round, now you need to choose my cards again. So the turns go pretty smoothly.
Awesome. And you also mentioned, like you said, you just play this on your own, single player solo.
Yes.
And because there's no story master or game master in this.
Yep.
How does that work? How do you introduce keeping the story moving along, avoid spoilers? have some type of like keeping it interesting and random as well.
So Jaws of the Lion, it has less branching choices than Gloomhaven and Frosthaven. Just by design, it's a smaller game. But there are several small paths you can choose and go, we can make a narrative choice here and there. But each scenario is going to give you story and dialogue and move the story forward for you, including some points where during the middle of the scenario, you might open a door and have to read another section telling you, oh, whoops, that was the wrong door to open. Now this is going to happen, kind of thing. So narratively, the game will drive itself forward. And monsters also have their own cards that dictate what they do, so no GM is needed. And that is also randomized, so you never really know what the monster is going to do before they do it.
Oh, very cool. Okay, for those that are interested in any of the products, anywhere from the starter pack to Gloomhaven and Frosthaven, where can they find you?
Most of them are on our web store at cephalofair.com. They're also available on Amazon. Jaws of the Lion is available at Target, Barnes & Noble, Meijer if you're in the Midwest, and several other stores. So
awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time today.
Yeah, thank you for letting me do this. Appreciate it.
And you enjoy the rest of your packs.
Thank you. You too.